to make a pie chart. Look at your green sheet, your formula sheet, to find the formula for degrees in a pie chart. The formula is F over N times 360. Be careful. Are you looking for degrees or are you looking for percent? They have different formulas. So F means frequency, N means total, times 360. So our first one is the frequency, 7, divided by N, 25, times 360. I punch that into my calculator, and I get 100.8 degrees. I follow the same recipe, the same formula for the next 3 results. And here are the results. They should add to be 360 degrees in a circle. When figuring one variable statistics, the first thing I do is order my data. I try to cross off the numbers as I order, and then I count to make sure that I have the same amount of numbers in my list as there was in the original list. Mean. The formula on your formula sheet is add up all your data values and divide by the number that you have. So I'll add up all my values, divide by 8, I have 8 data values there. I get 264.75. Remember that you need to round that. 1 decimal place past that of the data. So my data is whole numbers, so I will round to the nearest tenth. Make sure that you're using your green sheet as you do these so you get practice on where everything is for your test. Median, middle number. So I count off till I get to the middle number. There are 2 middle numbers. If there was just one, I would list it. But since there's 2 middle numbers, I add them up and divide by 2. Median. Mode means most often. I have 2 data values of 308. That's my mode. Oops, 308. Mid-range. Look on your formula sheet. The formula is high plus low divided by 2. So I add the high to 308 plus the low, 215, divide by 2. I get 261.5. Range. Look on your formula sheet. Find the formula for range. It's high minus low. 308 minus 215 is 93. To start with 12 through 16, I would either enter my data into a calculator and use technology to get these answers, or I would start by making myself a little chart in which I list all my data values. My next step would be to square each data value. After I have squared my data values, I'm going to add up my x's, my data values, and add up my value of x squareds. I'm going to use some color coding so that you can see how I place these numbers into my formula for standard deviation. So you can see I have added up my x's, sum of the x's, so I can fill in that answer. And I can fill in this answer, sum of the x squareds. Sum of the x's, add up the x column. Sum of the x squareds, add up the x squared column. This means take the sum of the x's, that number that I had, 2118, and square it. So I get this number. Back to our formula. You see I've written down the formula for standard deviation. I put the things that I color coded the things. N, that's the number of items I have in my list, 8 things. Some of the x squareds, that's here. Some of the x's, that's here. I'll have to square that number. So now I'll write in these values into my formula. Take a moment to look at how those match up. You have to be very careful with those pieces in your calculations. How I do it next, and you can either enter this all into a calculator, or I like to do the top in one line, enter this into a calculator, and get an answer. And then do the bottom, 8 times 7, 56. Then I divide these two numbers. Notice I haven't taken the square root yet. So I divide these two. And last but not least, I take the square root of that number and I round to 1 decimal point place. Don't round until the end. That is my standard deviation. So my S equals 37.9. You can also use a calculator to get this if you want. Variance, how do I find the variance? You square this number. Or actually, if you just go one step backwards, it'll be this number right here. You are allowed on your exam to use a calculator to come up with these numbers.